you very much for the purchase of your DVD, and thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you all. You guys did a great job submitting questions, and we have a ton of questions. We've got 20 minutes scheduled. We obviously won't get to all of them, but with that, I'm going to introduce Roger, who has been looking at the questions all day and all night, and he is going to try to answer as much as he can. And so with that, I would like to introduce you to Roger Kumble, the director of After We Collided.
Hey, everybody. Hi, good to see you. Thank you again. I'm looking at Twitter right now because we did a previous group because we had so many, and they're like, thank you, Roger and Louise, and there's a photo of me and Steve. So maybe they'll just think Louise is completely in character. And I ruined the surprise guest, but I haven't really because it's all over Twitter. So I'm going to introduce my good friend, Louise Lombard. Yay!
Hi.
Where are you?
Oh, Bulgaria.
In what room?
Bulgaria.
No.
In what did you say?
Nothing.
In Bulgaria, shooting a couple of films.
Right, a couple of films. Yeah. Right. So thank you so much for making the time. I want to try and hit some. We got like 400 questions last night, and we're going through them all. And I'm also know that like they'll replay. We did our first segment, and they'll replay part of that. So I'm going to try and find some new questions. So I might stutter and stop, but what I will say, like what I've heard, like I read the Hollywood Reporter article with Brian and the whole shooting in a pandemic. Are there like, without giving any spoilers away, as much as everybody, including myself, wants them, but I'll restrain myself so Voltage doesn't call and kill me. Are there like zones? Or they're like when you're on set? How does that? Are you guys like in sealed like tents? Like how does that?
No, we haven't really. I've heard of production in America doing that. We haven't got that sort of pod zone thing. We have these plastic shields that we carry all the time, everywhere, because of makeup and hair and stuff, we have to wear those, hold those.
That's why. That makes sense.
Yeah, because the whole crew are wearing their masks, and we are until we go into makeup, and then we're wearing, carrying those the whole time. Yeah, I mean, and with the actors' chairs are all separated.
I saw that. There was a photo like that too.
Yeah, there's not any of the normally, and I'm not sure whether the viewers know this, but Roger, normally everybody is able to talk and together, but there's separation, but it's not specific pods, it's not specific zones. It's just we're not allowed to sort of socialize on set.
Yeah, it's interesting because as you know, I've transitioned from director to eldest afternator. I'm on social media way too much, according to my wife. But I did, when we were shooting After We Collided in Atlanta, like when the movie came out, it was gangbusters in the world, and in the States, it wasn't as big yet. It took slower for that fandom to build. So, but we were, what'd you say?
The first or the second?
The second film. But we were we didn't know, like it would be like Beatlemania in Latin America and Europe, but not as much in the States. And we called it. That's why we called it Stars Collide. We were trying to throw off, and we didn't really have much of an issue. It was just still kind of, the movie was just coming out on like Netflix, and it was just being discovered. But like, one or two fans at the hotel where we were in Atlanta. And then I saw like day one in Bulgaria, and I was like, how the F are they going to do this? Oh my God. I mean, it was like a rock concert. I'm trying to remain spoiler free for that, but that was all over, social media, and all the fans saw that as well. And, but you guys are very fortunate. You have an amazing, I could say this, line producer in Brian Pitt, that guy. And he, what is great is there's two people I know. There's Brian and Chad Rosen, the first AD, and they've been on it through movies 1 through 4. So there is a consistency. Like the first AD and the line producer have been there the whole time, and they know the world. So it's good to know that it's in safe hands like that. And you guys have like 2 hotel floors. Do you guys? Because you can't go out. Do you go like rollerblading in the hotel? How does this work?
No, we are, apart from when we're filming, we're not allowed to leave the hotel on our own, unaccompanied. But yeah, but we've had some, Brian, you talked about Brian. Brian has done, for Halloween, I might get into trouble for this. For Halloween, he closed down an escape room and spent the entire day like disinfecting and cleaning, and got all the people who did the escape room, like the people who worked there, had them tested the days running up to it. There was a lot of preparation for us to have. So there's been 1 or 2. We went for a big hike up to Mount Vitosha, I think it's called. So there's been a couple of times where we've left the hotel, but mostly we have our own gym here. We have the rec room, right. Game room. We're pretty much,
Here's the one question I think I could. What's the in the rec room? What's the most popular board game you guys play?
Well, there's been phases. So it started with Monopoly Deal, and we've now moved into, introduced by Hero, Catan, which is we all.
Hold on, I need to buy stock in Catan like right now after you said that Hero recommended it. But
I don't know. But it's fun. It's a great game. I wasn't aware of it before. So that's they're the 2 games we're playing.
Right, and I think everyone will want to know who's better at Monopoly, Hero or Joe. No comment.
Oh gosh, can you? Just.
Yeah,
I can't answer. I know the answer, but I can't answer.
Fair enough.
Actually, they're both very competitive. It's pretty even.
Got it. Oh yeah, I could believe that. Let's see. I'm just going to try and go through these questions, and I'm trying to also know that the people who are watching the second session might watch the first session, so I don't want to get too repetitive. I'll ask some bizarre ones that we didn't do. How do you think Hardin and Tessa would be handling the COVID quarantine? Not Hero and Joe, Hardin and Tessa.
How do you think?
I think Tessa would be like, wearing a mask and very, socially distant, and Hardin could give a fuck. Not in an anti way, but would be pragmatic, but then she'd yell at them and then they have sex. Right? I don't know.
A lot. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That's about right.
I don't know how that works. Let me see. How were Hero and Josephine similar to Reese and Ryan, having worked with the 4 of them? Just chemistry. It's so funny because you're like, they were amazing, and I'm like, I didn't do anything. I got hired for the second movie. Like Jenny Gage cast Hero and Joe along with Anna and Jen and others. It's an interesting. One of the things for the fans where with Louise and I were similar is we're not part of the first film. So I would kind of like, oh, you're the new kid too. Because I was the new guy. So
it's an interesting thing to step into, for sure. Isn't
it is.
Just in terms of, well, mostly because of the fans. You know, you've done sort of adaptations. I've done adaptations, but the sort of the passion and the commitment and the just the warmth of welcome from the fans is something I was not anticipating. I had no notion of until I was in it, and I think it's amazing because especially since during COVID, it's like this community, this sort of, and they're all. I mean, it's something very special.
No,
and I think it comes from Anna and the sort of the relationship she has with the fans, and then it sort of spills over and welcomes you and me. And,
I mean, all roads lead to Anna. Without Anna, there'd be none of this. And it's like, and I've mentioned this in previous interviews. I'm like, her biography is the most inspiring thing I've ever. I could get teary talking about it because it's amazing. And I would say to her on set, I go, you said no. You said, when you're pursuing your craft, like be it an actor or a director, which is a hard profession, and you're growing up, there'd be so many people to say, the odds are you're not going to make it, or it's not going to happen. And there's a thing in our head where we go, F you, I'm going to do it anyway. But, I didn't have a husband who was serving in Iraq. It's just, I can't say enough good things about Anna. And it was so great having her on set. And, when I got the job from meeting her and Jen at lunch, I started to kind of take over the script a little bit, even though she and Mario did a great job. But like Anna was also had a deadline on another book. And I said, well, I need to make it production friendly. And I used to do production rewrites, but I always took like a best idea wins approach when I make a movie. I'm like, I have no ego in this. So it's like, I might help out with the writing a little, but Anna might help out with the directing. Who cares? We're all just trying to get to the same thing. And that was the process with rehearsals involving, Hero and Joe and you. We would just go over these scenes and try to play like what you want in the moment. And that's kind of, what made it work, I think.
It's always for an actor, it's always really, really a real privilege when you have the original, the source material, like Anna on set, to be able to, obviously defer to the script, defer to you, Roger, but to have her be able to go, what about this, or what? That, and she's the oracle. There's something that's always really helpul on set.
And she was, I had a question like, did you and Anna choose the songs for the movie? Yes, but I literally turned it over to Anna. I'm like, she's so on top of that stuff, and I'm a 54-year-old. Like, what about Hey Jude?
Did not, did you?
No, I didn't. But actually, Cruel Intentions is more my speed, like Blur and all the Brit pop from the late '90s. But it was a long time ago. But she was like, we had a great music supervisor, Josh Kessler, and I just kind of, listen to her, Anna and Josh kind of riff, and I'd like jump in every now and then. I go, that sounds good. So it's like, that's where you're like, it's just a big collaboration, and who cares? And we're just trying to get the best movie. Let's see. Yeah, lots of questions. Yeah, adaptation again. We had talked about this in the previous session. If we had to go back in time, I would have made this as a limited series. When I thought when I took the job, I was like, well, Cruel Intentions was an adaptation, so I know how to do this. but it was also, what I didn't take into consideration is Cruel Intentions was an 18th century, novel. And this was, written whatever, like 10 years ago. So the fandom from Les Liaisons is dead. So I didn't have to deal with them. But the Aftonators are just so passionate, and they're missing this moment and this moment and this moment. And it's, I love all that kind of feedback. And look, it's always kind of hard when you have limited time to make a movie. But I don't even think like, having Harry Potter length might have done it justice, because some of the things that we didn't attack or didn't address, which is like there's this big Zed storyline in the book, and it's great, and I love Sam Larson, I loved Glee, but I was like, Zed's a little like Hardin, and I wanted to throw in another kind of completely different complication, and I said, I think we need to make it about Trevor, who's like the opposite, and is like, a lot of people are like, who are you rooting for in this movie? Did you have a, like, who are you rooting for? Are you team Trevor or are you team Hardin? Well, he's your son. You're not.
I mean, you're asking me, so I mean, he's my son. Of course I'm going to be team Hardin.
Right.
But also, no, because he's more interesting.
Yeah, no, for me, I was like rooting for whoever was in the scene we were filming.
Yes, yeah, fair enough, yeah.
But I wanted
Roger and Louise.
Yes.
Speaking of a lack of time, we're scheduled to end in a couple of minutes. Is there any way I could convince you guys
to
hang out with us for another 10 or 15 minutes on behalf of the fans?
Totally. And I'll try to fly through some of these questions. And to the fans, if I'll just wait for my wife to go to sleep, and then I'll go on Twitter.
Roger, if you can't see them, and if you want to check real quick, there was a couple of questions that came in while you were talking that I threw over to you that might be a little bit different than some of the stuff you've covered, if you want to look at those. And thank you so much for extending.
Yeah.
And we'll go for another 10 minutes.
Any scenes while filming where the cast couldn't stop laughing? It wasn't that type of, I wish I could say, it was a blast.
There was a scene, I don't even know that you were aware of it, when we were shooting the scene where Trish arrives, and Hera and I were outside that door, and I won't be able to tell you what it was about.
Right.
But we got the giggles, and it was one of those moments where you're saying action and we're literally wiping the tears.
Oh, no way. Oh, I wish I knew what that was.
There was some of those scenes we might have looked like we were crying at the beginning.
Right.
Oh,
funny. I did not know that. That's great. No, there was like, it's so intense. And I don't know about, like, when I do comedy, I'm more serious. It's when I do the dramatic things that I could kind of, because with the comedy, I'm worried about comic timing. So I have something in my head that I think I'm actually anti-fun. But dramatic scenes, I'm like, although I will say that scene when you're describing about the assault, you were so goddamn good in that scene.
Thank you.
We did it a couple different ways. We underplayed it.
Yeah, that's right. We did it very kind of just throwing it away and not leaning into it.
Because you never know. Let me see other questions. Hold on. Yep, laughing. My question is from Ms. Lombard. Aside from working on the After series, what is your most memorable or favorite thing you've done in your career?
Wow, it depends. It depends what decade we're talking about. CSI was great. The first show I ever did, well, not the first show I ever did, but one of the lead roles I ever played was a show called House of Elliot, set in the 1920s.
Yep, I remember that.
Do you? Wow.
Yeah, because it's on Netflix now, or was.
But it's hard to pin anything as the most memorable because they're, you know, significant at the time and then you move on.
Right. You seem very excited about the future After films being involved. In a recent interview, you stated you couldn't crack 3 and 4. Can you give us reasons why you didn't feel confident directing the next 2 films? I can answer that. It wasn't about a confidence. It was more about, for me, it was more about I didn't want to do another one unless I could make it better. Unless I could make it better than After We Collided. And After We Collided, I was able to, as everyone knows, you know, edge towards comedy, make it a kind of a full course meal, a little similar to what I did with Cruel Intentions back in the day. And knowing after the other books, there's not a lot of room for that. So I was like, I want to get off the stage while I can. And, you know, one of the things that I'm looking forward to as a fan is, you know, with the Harry Potter movies, they were all done by mostly different directors. So I think it'll be cool to see 3 different directors' interpretations of the material. And I do hope that, like, maybe in 2 or 3 years from now, the 3 of us could do something where we talk about the process. Because that I would enjoy that just even as myself, you know. Let me see other things. Talk about Josephine. What would you say her strength would be? Everything. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, my biggest surprise with her was just, you know, how great she is at comedy, how great she is at timing. I mean, you know, like, it wasn't on her resume. She'd done horror and After, but, you know, she's just a quadruple threat. Would you concur?
She's amazing. She's amazing. She's also just like, how old is Jo? That's not a secret. How old is she? She's you forget that you're talking to a 23-year-old. She seems much more mature than a 23-year-old.
Yeah. When I started talking to her, we started talking on, because she was living in Perth at the time, and then she's like, "You should watch she'd just give me homework. You should watch Twilight." So I could go watch all the Twilights and have a discussion, because she was just so analytical and so smart about all that stuff. Oh, people are asking me, like, you know, why did I move the nightmare? Because, you know, the movie started with the nightmare, and like, and I moved it in editorial because I did show it to.
I never ask you that. Why did you move it?
I did because I showed it to some people, and they're like, "You also want a movie to stand on its own," and this is not playing to the fandom. If I was saying I only want to make the movie for the fans and nobody else, I might have left it there. But I showed it to like 5 people who didn't see After and didn't read the book, and they're like, I have no idea what's going on.
What, to start with that scene?
Yeah, they were like, I have no. No, and I was like, this is a problem. If I want this movie to stand on its own, I want to educate the audience. So, I mean, that's an example where as a director or a filmmaker, you're like, I'm trying to cast a wider net. I can't, you know, I don't want to just make it a specific movie. I want the whole world to see this and go. So if people said, do I need to see the first one to see the second one? They could say no. They recap it, you know.
And tonally, I suppose starting with that is problematic, isn't it? To cut.
Yeah, it was, and it was also kind of like resetting that because the last scene in the first movie, I was kind of like, oh shit, how do I get out of this? They're on a goddamn dock. They're supposed to be fighting, you know. So I took a cue from an old show called Dallas and made it all a dream. Luckily, how much time do we have, dude?
Probably, if you guys are okay? We go 8 more minutes.
Yeah,
and
I'm all right.
While you're going, I'm going to give the attendees a chance to participate. We're going to ask them some polling questions. So if you see it on your screen,
Okay.
don't get shook up by it.
How receptive was everyone to suggestions, modifications? Great. I love, coming from theater and all that, my forte is with the actors. So I want to hear what they have to say. And that's always kind of fun. I like rewriting. I like reworking.
We did a film, didn't we? I mean, that scene that
I won't stop doing that. And it was like the new, it's interesting because there's 2 scenes. There's the final scene outside of the movie where, he shows up after the 9 days. And we had like so many drafts of that, the big speech. And we just kept rehearsing it, and we're like, yeah, that's it. And none of us felt right. And then we just went, what if he says nothing? What if they say nothing? Like, what the fuck else is there left to be said? How many times can this dude apologize? And I'm like, and that because they had such good chemistry and they have those eyes, the 2 of them, it's like, I think less is more,
It's often the case on film.
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, actually, somebody had a really kind of cool question about their relationship. Wait, I want to try and find it. Sorry. Whose idea was it that Harden will chase the ambulance? Mine. And I didn't know he could run that fast. Laptop on the way to work. An article on Vance and photos that Harden took. Wait, there was a good one. Sorry. What scene made you realize how great the movie was going to be? Any scene with Louise.
Yeah.
But no, I think the fight with Molly, I think, just so good. Did Joe go in and out of acts on set? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's easy for her. Wait, I want to.
I always find it strange when actors don't, when they socialize in the character's accent. I think that
It depends. It's like I understand. I'll follow whatever the actor's process is. If they want to stay in character, great. If they don't, they don't. When we did some of the more dramatic scenes, I'd leave them. They keep to themselves. They have to get.
Oh, that's a different. Staying in a mood is a different thing. I mean, the accent, is just having played American. I always like the idea of socializing with an American accent would just be strange.
Right.
To me.
Did anything happen in this movie remind you of something that occurred in your own life?
For me?
Yeah.
Embarrassing my son when I meet his friends.
Right.
Any opportunity. I
Right.
mean, there's a similarity.
I'll say for me, it was like one of the things that also attracted me to this story was the theme of addiction. I thought it was really interesting. We never really talk about it in terms of codependency, alcoholism. That just those themes run so, forgiveness. I mean, it's very, and I've been sober 18 years, so I get it. A lot of times I would identify with Trevor, and I love that scene with him when he kind of lays it out for her, like this isn't going to go well when they're in the office, and it is.
Why do you say that's interesting though, Roger? Because if you are in, sort of sober for 18 years, then I would imagine that's an unsympathetic position to take that Trevor takes when he says it's not going to end well. I mean,
he says it also because like he says his sister is an addict, and I was like, and you could relate, this movie is a big cry for Al-Anon for everybody, but that's another subject.
I love that.
You know, but it is kind of you know, I do see on social media a lot like and it's great, and it's probably better asked to Anna, but it could be asked. That's the power of a book. It's, you know, is this a toxic relationship, Hardin and Tessa, and you know, I never necessarily as a director feel a responsibility. I just want to tell a compelling story, but I don't feel like I have to do a public service announcement. And that's just me. You know, it's just a passionate relationship, but the whole thing for me, and one of the reasons why I skewed a little comedic in the beginning was it's all redemption. He has to be forgiven by not only Tessa, but by the audience. So even that's where you were so great and helping that, because that the relationship between Hardin and Trish, even though there was more conflict in it in the book, I think because of our limited time in the movie, you know, that, you know, you said he has his challenges, you know, but I loved how Hero would kind of resort to being a little boy around you, and the whole brush your teeth and all that. And you're like, you see, like, this kid's wounded, you know, there's, you know, trauma.
Yeah, just reminds you, seeing his mother, that reminds you of his history and the, you know, how hard, how much he's had to overcome.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that so, I don't know. I find that super interesting. Let me see. Is the After series your favorite to have directed? I love them all equally.
Hey, Roger,
Yeah.
I'm going to let you try to find one more question to ask, and then we're going to have to cut it off. I did send you a couple of emails that came in.
Wait, hold on. I'm looking. Hold on. Sorry.
But I'm going to be like a producer. You're going to have to answer them quick.
The intimate scenes. Oh, there's this photo. I know it's from Daisy. The photo, the black and white photo of Joe and Hero, which is so beautiful. That's Larry Riebman. That's my DP. And I texted him the other night and I said, "Where is this from?" And they were lining up a shot. So that wasn't necessarily in a scene that I hit the floor. I mean, the fan base is so passionate and you can't get anything past them. So what we're doing for the DVD is I got the hard drives with the my assistant editor, Helen, and we're just going through the editor's assembly. And I'm like, whatever wasn't in that, just give it to them because they're going to go crazy, and let them see. Because it was even like moments and all that. But there was nothing like risque, nothing, you know, just in fairness, nothing was neutered for this movie. Nothing was forced on us by Voltage. We wanted to make it risque and all that, and like the book. So, but we will do our best.
I think
if I didn't answer your questions, hit me up on Twitter.
I think that's a great place to end. Louise, thank you so much for your time. I know you're in a completely different time zone than anybody else. Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time today. I know the fans do. It's been lovely. Roger, you're great, as always.
Good.
To everyone that's viewing, I hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving and a very safe Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Say hi, everybody. Yeah, say hi, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Thank you.
Bye.